Morning, Mike.
Good morning, Nick.
I was wondering if you'd like to just explain to us why you haven't had anything to eat for 60 days, is it now?
60 days today.
Today?
Today.
Excellent.
Yeah. And,
so to what end, Mike? Why aren't you eating stuff?
well, it's a really big area of topic of mine. I can't try and condense it down smaller, but essentially in my search for finding knowledge about water and the effects of water, I suddenly discovered that there were obviously 4 types of water that were available to us as the creatures we are to create great wellness and physical internal repair. So we look at those 4 just briefly. That is obviously the natural hydrological process, i.e. rainwater, which some of us today may have issues with because of the chemtrailing, but I'll just quickly remind people that nature is on our side and she will clean that water up. So if you were testing the rain over 2 or 3 days, you'll find that the TDS meter you were using would register lower and lower readings, which would bring you perhaps into a distilled range of under 10 parts per million, which is brilliant water for any body to start drinking.
Clean enough to drink.
It's clean enough. It's cleaner than, there's no added chlorine or other toxic elements that are readily available in our normal everyday tap water. So that's one of the distilled juices, waters, shall I say. Distilled juicing again is another method of again finding a distilled water that will benefit and stimulate the body. So
by distilled juices,
by distilled juices,
you mean juices from a juicing machine?
That's correct, and obviously
so that's vegetable and fruit.
Well, I'm specifically at this point, I stick only to fruit, so vegetables I've kind of left behind. So that's the second method. The third method obviously is mechanically cleaned up water, so that can be from a distiller or through a filtration process, which
is what most of us
a lot of us are using. We can achieve a very, very clean and almost clean enough, well, it's clean enough to establish and call it distilled water. And finally, the most brilliant one I know of all the distilled waters is our own water. Obviously, most people, they have a great difficulty.
You're taking the piss, aren't you?
Absolutely. So this is something I can honestly say that I've enjoyed discovering because of the effects. So if people are strong enough, willed enough to want to remedy some of the really bad things that are happening inside themselves, then I would most definitely say drink your own water, for all the answers come from within. So that water, obviously your own water, goes through the kidneys. The kidneys have their own distill tubes, so each kidney has 1 million distill tubes, and these distill tubes again busily working away, purifying this water, your water, and it is your water, and that's what makes it.
Of course, it's been demonised.
Of course, it has to. Even as far as, I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because obviously there are people who would even claim it's some kind of satanic ritual. Well, it's been around, I think, a lot longer than Satan or anything else. To be quite honest, this is very, very ancient knowledge. I mean, there's
referred to in a lot of cases as the water of life.
Indeed, yeah. But I think the term urine, again, as I've discovered, is the wrong term. It's the ancients would refer to it as orin, which is as the O-R-I-N. So when you look at when we pronounce the word urine, it's kind of on the lower tone. It's to keep it in that lower vibration of information that will, again, it's to dissuade people away from this.
Well, that's absolutely essential, because basically their system couldn't work if we were using our own urine.
Absolutely, 100% there, Nick. You have a capacity to deal with anything that obviously that isn't necessarily a trauma-based injury. Like you can have trauma-based injuries, i.e. Where you've had perhaps, for instance, an example, you've had your kneecap severely damaged through an impact injury. What will occur is that there will be repair that will occur, without a doubt, and when the body is hydrated, then you can control, and I don't really quite like using that term, but it's a term that most people will acknowledge as one they understand, which is you can basically take control of the pain or distress, and in most cases being properly hydrated, it will not bother you in the instance. It will dissipate. It will, you know, it's perhaps if you had a very physical day, it might flare up. However, the remedy is always at hand. The remedy is either, again, is your own water or any of the 4 distilled waters. So to get back to where this all began was 6 or 7 years ago, when I initially started off on the water. I was actually remineralising, which is completely and utterly ridiculous to think I was going to the efforts of cleaning up the water to create into brilliant substances, dead substances. Dead water is beautiful to organic beings. And then I was placing minerals back into it. Now, the most important thing to explain to most people is that they need to grasp what an organic mineral is and an inorganic mineral, because they both behave very differently. So the organic minerals are all in living fruits and vegetables, and we masticate and we remove those essential nutrients through the digestive system, but what the body is purely being stimulated by the food. It's not dependent on the food, and I'll explain more when further along the line. So I don't want to get too off track here. So the distilled can come through your own mastication, and it's the organic minerals is that what the body will use. It doesn't necessarily assimilate them nutritionally. It stimulates the body. It can stimulate the body's immune system. Okay, organic minerals are ones that are available to us through natural fruits and natural vegetables that obviously aren't adulterated by poison world or chemical world, which I find obviously it's quite hard. However, there are methods of ways of dealing with them, cleaning them up, because that's important. We can clean them up. However, yeah, but the inorganic minerals are the ones that you find that the industry and even the health industry and the nutritionists push. They're not organic, they're not live. Organic is live, it's organised, it's from a living plant, a living fruit, and offers the body stimulation and a method again to enhance repair of the body and balance the body when it's out of balance, because it's going to be consumed in the juices of that plant or fruit, and all the good stuff is in the liquid of the plant, the water, the life force of the plant. Whereas the organic minerals, again, they're not from living.
You mean the crystalline minerals?
Yeah, they're not living minerals, and these are what really cause enormous damage to the human body, to our fellow creatures. It's causing horrendous. So if you look at people out there, I mean, they use the term fat. I don't. I just see poisoned people, and it's something that, at times I find a great weight of upsetness, and you've kind of got to be calm about how this does affect you, because it literally harm the poisonous minerals harm everyone. It's almost endemic planetary wise, and
right. So you're talking about the fact that we're taking in crystalline minerals.
Indeed, yeah, we are. We in fact
and we can't process them.
We can't process them, and in fact they become stacked and stored all over the body. And again we see people with numerous different physical conditions, arthritis, all arthritis regardless of how the medical fraternity look upon it. It is, again, it's all illness is all poison based. You remove the poisons from the body, then you're going to get your body's life force back. It truly will come back, and you'll find a sense of wellness and happiness that.
And your liver's going to remove most of that, isn't it?
Again, yeah. Remember,
given the option,
everything. Yeah, everything. Your body internally is incredibly amazing. I mean, for me to find out, even at the age I am, it has been wonderful. It's wonderful. It's like being at a school that we've never been at before. It's like being that, being in that where you want to be learned. You want to learn this thing because, hey, it's going to make me really well. It's going to make me really happy. Do I want to be anything else? No, there's no room for anything else, because wellness and happiness go hand in hand. And if we look at wealth, it's always going to be your health and your well-being. It's not going to be how much I've got stacked in the bank. It's just, I can have millions, but I could be living a completely and utterly toxic life.
So basically what we're talking about is one single attitude and treatment to deal with everything that's ever been wrong with us.
Absolutely. There is a great deal of documented testimony in all of these areas, and people need to look and be learned and explore these areas. So for me, what I first did a long fast, and which was 40 days, over 40 days, and what we are suffering with, the term we can use is auto-intoxication. In fact, we're very addicted to the poison minerals that we consume on a daily basis, and they're causing dreadful harm. I mean, one of the greatest harmful things we ever do consume is salt. Now, salt is not organic. It never can be organic. It's salt. It's dirt, and if someone wants to, here I have a glass of perfectly pure natural water. So if I wanted to remineralise it, yeah, I can put dirt out the garden in it, and it's remineralised. That's. So if we look at how plants deal with minerals, they don't care whether they're getting organic or inorganic minerals. At the end of the day, at that level of root and through the being light beings themselves, and through photosynthesis, they will convert the inorganic to organic. Obviously, being that we're not root based, however, we are very almost identical to our fellow plants and creatures, then it's important that obviously we are able to distinguish between what are good minerals, which are organic, and the sources of those organic minerals, which again, if we look out there in nature, do you see any of them queued up at Burger King or Horsey McDonald's? I don't really think so. They're not there. This is alien to them, but what has been normalised for us, in our eating habits. This is, we so in a sense, society wants to make us, well, shall we say, those that wish to control people want to make it essential in the belief that you need foods with lots of minerals in, but they don't tell you how to distinguish what a good mineral is or a bad mineral. So when
can I take you through what would be your normal routine in a day, Mike?
Well, again, this.
Because you're up early juicing, aren't you?
Yeah, I like using. At the moment, I can definitely tell everyone I'm using 3 out of the 4 distilled waters, and so I'm first thing in the morning. Yeah, sometimes I start my juicing. Often enough, I start my own water, which is again, it will include other clean water. So it's having it variable. So what I've done on this journey of 60 days is for instance, you know, the juicer I've got's a very specific juicer. It's a Green Star, and it's a twin masticating roller, so there's two rollers that mechanically move around at no more than 110 RPM per minute. So it doesn't cook anything or damage anything.
So it's something truly raw.
Yeah, and obviously because of this created magnetic field through the rollers, anything that's positively charged generally is bonded to the pulp, the waste that's going to be discarded.
And the juice is negative.
So the negative, well, in a sense, yes, but it's still, if you place the TDS meter into that juice, you're going to pick up all the organic
of course
particulates. It's going to read that. So daily, I will juice unless I make a large batch, which might. There's a little bit of planning and preparation. So literally, what I do to clean up, because I can't afford organic fruit and veg all the time, and I'm going to specifically state, because this time I've chosen fruit. So, for instance, when I, you know, get my apples in, and I'll put them in the pure water, a bowl of the pure water, or grapes as well. I'll put them in a bowl of pure water, and I will use an ozone generator, because ozone again is a natural thing, occurring thing in nature. And we're using it obviously through a corona discharge plate mechanically produced. However, the ozone is ozone 3, and it is, you could say it's Mother Nature's cleaner, although I do note that there may be 19 or more different types of oxygen, but ozone 3 is quite clearly demonstrated a universal purifier and cleaner. So if there's anything attached to them apples or grapes, residues, we can start to clean them off and reduce the amount.
It lifts them and traps them in the water.
Essentially, yeah, because that water again is, we've started off with pure water, and as we know that water is made up of two wonderful dead substances, oxygen and hydrogen, and together they're just incredibly magnetic. So when you look at the term distilled water and still water, well, the still water, it can't move because it's loaded with minerals. The distilled, well, it's going to move fast, so when you're drinking your distilled liquids, they're going to go down you fast. Because
well, we've literally got liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen.
Yeah,
when your water is clean, that's all you have.
Yeah, which is absolutely perfect for
it's rocket fuel.
Yeah, I couldn't term it a better term for it. It's rocket fuel. It's medicine.
So we're not talking too much of an actual financial investment here. Ozone machine's going to cost you no more than about £20 or so. Your juice is going to cost you about £100 or so.
Perhaps, you know, it's variable. Like I say, most people, like I say, you don't necessarily have to. Remember, you can choose. You can stick with any one of those 4 distilled waters. You know, so you're not specifically governed to say, right, oh, I've got to do all 3. I mean, I might actually have a day where all I consume will be my own water.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I'm quite happy to do that. And it has an amazing clear out effect, and this is why we'll go, you know, when I initially started off this journey, the first sort of 10 days you're going to be dealing with a variable amount of, you know, clear out intestinal wise detoxification, and to a degree, remember, like you know, our bodies are littered with minerals and rubbish, to say the least. So the longer duration of the clean out, the better the repair internally, and again the return of a life force that's been missing from you since perhaps before you were even born, when you were inside mum.
We've all been privileged to watch you get healthier and healthier and healthier through this process. I mean, this process has been going on now for about 3 or 4 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we first met, you were bald.
Yeah.
You were overweight.
Indeed.
And you were suffering dreadfully with back problems and shoulder problems.
Yeah.
In fact, if I remember rightly, you couldn't sit down for more than 5-10 minutes at the most without having to get up and move around because you were just too uncomfortable to do that.
That's right, it was too painful, Nick.
And also you had as a result of your service, you had a degree of PTSD,
Yeah.
which you were having to deal with, and had been prescribed all kinds of chemicals for.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And with all those problems, we've now arrived at today where all you're actually using is distilled waters.
That's right. Yeah.
And as a result, you're far fitter. You certainly look a lot healthier.
I certainly am physically healthier. There are ongoing trauma injuries to the back, which
if I may say so, you cope with
this is it.
a great deal better.
I have
than
to
you
be
than you used to.
to do so is to be hydrated. Without that hydration, I would be suffering. In a
And of
very
course,
physical
properly
way.
hydrated is something that people, generally speaking, don't appreciate what that actually means. To be properly hydrated, how much a day would you say that you need to be drinking?
Well, for me, because of my size, I'm quite a tall lad, and so I'm looking at anything. I need to be over that a magic gallon a day to a gallon and a half of distilled fluids.
Which in comparison to the way people drink at the moment, is a huge amount of liquid.
I think that when you're looking at just like, for instance, as a water, you know, it seems like 1.5 gallons. Wow, that's a lot. So if you may perhaps, most people every day they consume copious amounts of tea and coffee.
Yes.
And I'd say, if they can drink a gallon of tea or coffee a day, they can certainly excuse me. Certainly consume a gallon of
Distilled.
Indeed, yeah.
Right, well, thank you for that, Mike.